Good evening, and welcome to our first session of Moms on the Money Trail. We are recording today's program, so kindly remain muted throughout the remainder of our program. Once I've stopped the recording, we will have time to cover our discussion questions, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have at that time. My name is Katrina Boyer. I'm the Investor Education Coordinator at the Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities, and I'm so excited that you have decided to join this journey of Moms on the Money Trail. Before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about the Department of Banking and Securities. We are a state regulatory agency, which means we regulate much of the finance industry. So we have banks and credit unions that are chartered by the department. That means we make sure that they're financially safe and sound and they're following the rules and regulations that they are susceptible to. It also, we also regulate the non-bank lending industry, which is mortgage lenders, check cashers, pawn shops, mortgage servicers, car dealerships, money transmitters, debt management, debt settlement, and countless other types of companies. And we register more than 200,000 investment professionals. So I hope that you can see when I outline all of the things that we regulate, where the things that we regulate touch your everyday financial lives. And that's one of the reasons that we do what we do to help educate Pennsylvanians about the work that we do so that you can make informed financial decisions. But with that, I want to talk about the things that we're going to be covering today and throughout the series. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about me. We're going to talk about what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about what we're doing here. I'll give you the startling statistic about what it might cost to raise a child that's born in 2024. We'll cover how we can avoid some of these scary statistics. I'll tell you what you can expect from the series. And at the end, once I've stopped that recording, we'll talk about anything that you may like me to cover, as well as some of those other discussion questions that we will cover at the end of this session. But my name is Katrina Boyer. I am the Investor Education Coordinator for the Department of Banking and Securities. I've been with the department since 2002. And I love the work that we do. But I am also a mom of four who had all of her kids before I was 24 years old. And the reality is, I wish I had known about this type of program back in the 90s when my kids were young. And the reality is, I am so excited to do this series with you so that I can give you the tools that you need to be able to make better financial decisions for you and your families. By the end of this series, my hope is that you will have a better understanding of overall personal finance. I hope that you will see that making small steps in saving and investing your hard-earned money, you will be able to see big long-term results. And we're going to show you that throughout the program in all the sessions. We're going to talk about how you can pull your credit report because that's an important piece of our financial futures. We're going to talk about how you can open an account at a financial institution like a bank or a credit union. We'll also talk about investment accounts and how you can start to invest for those long-term goals. We'll talk about how you can shop for car insurance and understand the key terms that are associated with that. We're going to talk about the things that you can do to open an education account for your child or your unborn child, and we're going to talk about how you can start investing for your long-term retirement and wealth building goals. So that's a lot that we're going to cover, but we are together for 10 series, and I am excited to be starting this with you. We are going to have two special guests from organizations that are part of state government. We're going to have a presentation from the Department of Insurance, and they're going to be covering insurance, car insurance, homeowners, renters, maybe even some information about life insurance and what it all means as a new mom who is starting to explore your financial needs as you move forward. We're also going to have a guest presenter from the Pennsylvania Department of Treasury. They're going to be talking to you about several different savings opportunities for your child's education. And she's even going to tell you a little bit about a program that automatically deposits $100 into an educational program for your baby when they're born. And she's going to tell you how to grow that and what that means when your child is ready to go off to college or a trade school. But I want to give us a reality check and I want us to understand exactly why we're here. And so I want to ask you how much you think it will cost to raise a child that's born in 2024. This is one of your quiz questions, so you'll need to answer A, 100,000, B, 170,000, C, 290,000, D, over $1 million, or E, I don't even want to know. If you're participating live, feel free to put that into the chat. If you are watching the recorded version, again, this is one of your quiz questions. You're going to want to pay attention. The scary truth is that, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, it will cost an estimated $290,000 to raise a child that's born in 2024. Now, I want to make sure that I emphasize this does not include higher education. So it does not include those college fees or tech school or vocational school. It doesn't include any of those kinds of fees. So, what does it cover? Here are a few examples of expenses. The biggest chunk of that money is going to be for housing because we've got to be able to provide a roof over our child's head. It's also going to cover utilities that may or may not be included with our housing. So, electricity, internet, water, sewer, trash, all of those types of things, and food. Listen, as a mom of four, I can tell you that food costs are a big chunk of what we're going to spend on our children. But we also have to be able to get them to and from where they need to go because kids do activities. And then we've got medical expenses, and that can include their annual checkups, or believe it or not, kids have accidents. And so that can add to some of those expenses. And then, like I said, education is not included in that $290,000 earmark for raising our kids that are born in this year. But listen, I don't want you to be afraid of that because the reality is that you can do this. And this is why we're here today. We're going to talk about creating a spending plan. We're going to talk about what our credit report and scores, how that impacts our lives. We're going to talk about buying a car or making another big purchase like a house. We'll also talk about insurance. We've got that special guest coming from the Department of Insurance. Bethany Blessing is going to give you some great information. I'm going to talk with you about banking basics for the 21st century. We're going to talk about the differences between an online financial institution and a brick and mortar financial institution. We'll talk about some of the questions that you need to ask and some of the things that you need to be prepared to provide to the institution. We're going to talk about different types of investments and investment accounts. That becomes really important for us to understand. And even though maybe you don't find yourself in a position where you can start to open those accounts, I want you to know that if you make small changes, you will see growth and you will be able to do those things, because it's important that we start making those habits now so that when our financial picture changes, we are prepared and we're able to do what we need to do in order to meet those long-term goals. Finally, we're going to talk about avoiding frauds, scams, and identity theft. Identity theft is a big problem in the United States, and I'm a firm believer that it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when. So we need to be prepared and we need to understand what we can do to protect ourselves. And if it happens, we need to know what steps we need to take to get through that. So that's kind of a recap of all the different things that we're going to be covering. Next week, well, 2 weeks, we're going to be covering our monthly spending plans. And I want you not to be afraid of that, because the reality is that sitting down and wrapping your head around what money is coming in and what money is going out can go a really long way in helping us to realize that it's not as grim or scary as we maybe thought it was. So I want you not to be concerned. I want you to come in and I want you to be ready to hear what we have to say that day. But I want us to start thinking about different things that we can do when we start to look at our spending plans. And, a couple things that I think are important for us to look at are some of our subscriptions. I was recently going through my subscriptions and I realized that I had 2 or 3 different subscriptions that I didn't use anymore. One was for a big newspaper, and it was costing me about $100 a year. So since I don't use that anymore, since I don't read that newspaper, I canceled that subscription. Maybe there are other services that fill the need. I can get free news from social media and other web pages. So that was a way that I was able to do that. Another thing that we want to think about is if we're still getting the best price. Often when we are on, say, internet, maybe our internet provider gave us a 2-year discount if we signed up for a contract with that. And then after 2 years, the price went up. So maybe we can look at some of those things and ask for better prices, because the reality is that those companies want to keep us as their customers. So if we ask about lowering a price, a monthly fee, they may be willing to do that. If they're not, sometimes it's helpful to shop around and make sure that you're getting the best price available. Another thing I always try to encourage individuals to do is to shop with a list. Make sure that you're looking at the sales ads, those things, maybe you get it by email or you get it in the newspaper or you get it in your regular mail. Take a look at the print ads so that you know exactly what you want to buy. And then I always say, if we think about what we're going menu planning for the week, we can plan what we're going to eat based upon what's on sale and the things that we need. And I always tell people to be aware that just because it looks like it's on sale doesn't necessarily mean it's a good buy. So we want to be aware of what the other going rates are and the prices that are happening around us. So that's just a couple of key tips. We're going to talk later in our discussion about some other things that we might be able to do to help us as we start to think about changing the way we spend our money so that we can make better choices with it. Now, I want to talk about one way that we might be able to save money, and that would be maybe stop spending $1 bills. What happens if you decided to stop spending those $1 bills that you get and you saved them? Let's say you buy groceries and you pay cash. If your bill was $13, you've got $2. If you pay with a 20, you've got 2 ones and a 5. Tuck those 2 ones away. Put them in a jar until you can get to the bank. Let's say you stop for gas and you get some change. Again, put that money aside. Or maybe you're paying for a parking meter and you need change. So you get $3 worth of quarters and a couple $1 bills. Again, tuck that aside. How long do you think it would take if you did that to just save $25? Do you think it would take you a week? Some weeks I end up with a whole lot more than 25 ones. It just depends on my week. But what if you took that $25 a month and you invested it? And we're not going to go deeply into investing, but I just want to throw this out here. And this is according to investor.gov, which is the Securities and Exchanges website for consumers like you and me. It's a great place that you can go to learn more about investing, and we'll talk more about the SEC and investor.gov in some of our other sessions. But I just want to throw this out there, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but if you were to take $25 a month and invest that for 10 years, you never gave any more than that, you never deposited any less than that. After 10 years at $25 a month, you would have $3,800. That's a lot of money to save if you're just thinking that all you did was stop spending your $1 bills. So, this is how we can start to think about investing and getting ready to start that process. So I hope that you can see that some of those small changes can lead to big wins or big gains. And we're going to see that even more in just a few slides when we talk about the investing snowball. But while you're thinking, I'd like you to think about what are some other ways that you think you might be able to save money. Go ahead and put that in the chat, and we can talk about that at the end of our recorded session. So, one thing that I want us to start to think about is adding a line to our spending plan for investing. Now, it doesn't have to be a lot. Again, $25 a month, $10 a month. Just start doing something. And I always encourage people to put it into a separate account that's not going to be easy for you to access. I know for me, I've got two different accounts. One account is where I keep my money that I'm going to be spending and using, for my day-to-day living. But I have another savings account at another institution where I put my money that I want to invest or that I'm saving for some of my short-term goals. Again, we're not going to go deeply into this because it's going to be our top subject for next session. But I want us to start, again, thinking about this process. As you start to change the way that you're thinking about spending and the way that you're spending, you can adjust that spending plan so that maybe more money is going into that account that you can't get to easily. And the reality is, once you start doing those things, you're going to see just how saving and investing can grow when we start to think about what I like to call the investing snowball. So we take a little bit from every paycheck and we put it into that savings or that investment account. And every month we're going to get interest payments. And maybe the value of our investments grows. And maybe we get some dividend payments. And what happens is we keep adding that into that account. And when we do that over many, many years, we really begin to see a lot of growth. So I want to show you two different examples that we use. So the first example is Sam's friend. He puts $100 a month into his savings jar religiously for 40 years. After 40 years, he saved $48,000. I mean, I wouldn't turn down $48,000. But what if we looked at what Sam did instead? So this is an example of no interest. Sam's friend, he just put that money away. Maybe he stuck it under his mattress. Maybe he stuck it in his freezer. Whatever he did, he didn't do anything with it. But Sam took that same $100 a month and he put it into a wealth building account. Again, we'll talk about wealth building accounts later on in the series, but I want us to realize he took that same $100 a month and he invested it faithfully. After 40 years, Sam had saved $145,000 compared to his friend who saved 48,000. That's almost $100,000 difference by taking the same amount and putting it in a better place. So that's why I want us to think about exactly why we're here, to start thinking about making different choices with our money, and start thinking about looking at our long term goals and being able to live that life and better our financial future. So, I'm going to stop our recording now because I want to hear from you some of the following questions. Where do you see yourself in the next 2 to 5 years? Thinking about some of the topics that we've talked about and what you envision for yourself. I want you to think about your dream job. And finally, what exactly do you hope to get out of this series? We're going to be together now through the beginning of next year. And so I'd love to understand what you want to get from this program and this series that we're covering. And now that you know what we're planning to cover, I'd like to know what else you want to know and what questions you have. Before I end today's session, I do want to go over the program in general. I do want to make sure that I mention we are tracking attendance through the quizzes that you will receive by email from me. What that means is if you attend the live version, so you're on with me right now, if you attend the live version, on your quiz, you have to answer the questions at the top of the quiz. It's 2 questions. They might be multiple choice, they might be true or false, depending on the session. You have to answer those 2 questions and participate in the discussion that we're going to have when I stop this recording. Once you submit those 2 questions to me, send them back to me by email. Make sure you tell me who you are in your email, and I will give you credit for having participated in this session. If you're watching the recorded session, you're going to need to answer the 2 questions at the top, and there are 3 discussion questions on your quiz. You need to answer 2 of those discussion questions in order to get credit for participating in this session. Going forward, you will receive within a few days the recorded link to this session, and I'll send the quiz again so that you have all the information that you need. I'll also send you a PDF of the slides from today's session so that you have the resources and the links that we've gone over. And you'll find as we go through this series that we have more and more information available that you're going to want to research and check out. So that's what you can expect from the program. You'll want to make sure that you complete all 10 sessions, particularly if your sponsoring agency is offering you a financial incentive. In order to qualify for the financial incentive, you do have to participate in all 10 sessions. Again, I'm tracking that by you returning those quizzes to me within a timely fashion after we cover that session. So, before I stop the recording, I wanted to give you my contact information. My name is Katrina Boyer. I'm the Investor Ed Coordinator at the Department of Banking and Securities. Here is my telephone number and email address. You're always welcome to email me. I'm happy to respond to email or return calls. I am on the road and doing a lot of events, so sometimes email is easier. With that, let's stop our recording and we'll get to our discussion questions.